Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is the debate for MUISS or MUISS Engagement, and here with me, I have the office bearer Krishna Paramaputra and Fadia Saraswati, who is our candidate for this debate. Just a quick introduction. My name is Sean Pan. I am the returning officer of this year's annual election. And with me, I also have my deputy returning officer, Lydia Goh, who is currently behind the scenes and maintaining the stream. Now, just a few reminders for the audience in the YouTube live. Keep your comments respectful, no hate speech, and if you do have any questions, do feel free to drop them in the comments. There will be a time in the debate where I will read out your comments to Fadia and allow her to answer your questions and clarify her manifesto better. Now, let's talk about the agenda so that all of us are clear about how it's happening today. Okay, so first we have the introduction by the Election Commission, which is what I'm doing now. After I finish talking about the itinerary, we will move on to the opening statement by Fadia, and where she is going to talk about her manifesto and basically overall give a good first impression about the person that she is. After that, because Fadia is our only candidate for today's debate, we will skip past the cross-examination by candidates and go straight into Q&A by OB. After the Q&A by OB, this is where you guys will come in as the audience and where we will ask any questions that you have posted in the comment section. That's the Q&A by the audience, and after Q&A by the audience, we will move on to closing statement by Fadia, and after Fadia closes, we will finally end with my closing. So, without further ado, I would like to pass it on to Fadia. Fadia, the floor is yours. Go ahead and tell us about your manifesto.
Okay. Good day, everyone, to the office bearer, Krishna, the RO, and the RO. Thank you for coming to this debate session. I hope you all have a great day today. Let me start off by introducing myself. I'm Fadia Saraswati, and I'm currently in my year 2, semester 1 from School of Business, currently majoring in International Business Management and Strategic Marketing. I'm here for the MUISS Engagement position, which I know it is a combination of MUISS activities and welfare. I am an international student myself, and I do understand what our international student struggles, especially studying and living abroad, starting a new chapter of life, living independently and away from home, and overall adapting to the new environment and university life. It could be hard sometimes as an international student. I know how you feel. I know your struggles because maybe what you are facing right now is also the same as what I'm facing right now. So, being in the situation, it will really fit to be an office bearer of MUISS Engagement because I will understand what international students are facing. Hence, I'm confident that I'm suitable for this role as I was a subcommittee of MUISS before. I have my past experience and gained relevant knowledge and skills from that, not only from MUISS, but another external organizations that I have before. Addition to that, my current educational background, as in my major in School of Business, would be very helpful as it is somewhat related to what I'm going to be doing in this department. Overall, with me being the head of engagement, I will do my best to engage with students through the activity side of the department and also the welfare side of the department. So, continue to my manifesto, I have 3 points. The first point is maintaining study life balance. I know when you're studying 24/7, burning out is bound to happen. Personally, I'm facing it right now myself, and I have heard most of my friends or all people around me have been facing it as well. So it is inevitable. And I am very aware that mental health is very important, especially when far away from home. As an international student, I understand this a lot. So, by joining an event which will be created soon, students will not only experience the academic side of the university life, but also the fun and exciting of the non academic side of the university life while maintaining mental health in a positive level. Continuing to my second point, which is connecting students, I am an introvert. Well, at least that's what I define myself as. So I can understand that some of the new students, as well as current students, may have a struggle to make or find new friends, especially if dependent only to classrooms environment. Usually, you just went in class, listened to tutors, and went out. Done. That's it. Because I know usually in the classroom we don't have that much chance to socialize as it is mostly focused on the studies. That's why outside activities such as events can help to gather students and create a good bonding moment. Finally, come to my last point, which is diverse and inclusive oriented. I understand that no one wants or deserve to feel left out. So from my past experience contributing to organizing event from MUISS activities department, I have come to a realization that it is a bit non-inclusive indirectly. Hence, I aim to hold an event which is open to all types of students as possible with little to no requirement of a specific characteristic to join an event. That's it for my manifesto. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your well-planned and intuitive manifesto, Fadia. Now, we will move on to the questioning by the office bearer. However, our office bearer is currently having a few technical difficulties, and because of Wi-Fi problems on a little bit of a short notice, I will be the one that will be relaying our office bearer's questions over to you. So, our first question is, with the change in department and being the first person to be on the position of engagement, how do you plan to execute the role?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I am aware that this is the combination of activities and welfare. I will execute this role by knowing the scope of responsibility that activities and welfare have. In terms of activities, as I'm currently the subcom of that, I believe that I am familiar in how the department works. And for the welfare, I'm still learning along the way, but I know that it involves the well being and mental health of the students, as well as guiding them if they need help. It could be in terms of adapting and taking care of the administration things in the university, such as visa problems, or where to live, or where to eat. Um, and I am aware that my scope of responsibilities will be expanded because I can't just focus on creating events on behalf of the activities department, but now I also have to focus on the welfare side, which is more wide of scope of responsibility, not only for mental health, but also how we adapt in the university life, because it is also like a combination of well-being and also administration things. So
Thank you for your answer, Fadia. The follow-up question, well, not the follow-up question, the following question is, the huge diversity of students in Monash certainly results in minorities and underrepresented communities. How would you ensure that these minorities will have a sense of inclusivity through events by your division?
thank you for the question. I assume minorities in your question or in this context, as in terms of doesn't have a lot of students from that country. So, like the community is small in here. As I was saying in my manifesto, I will try to create an event which does not have the requirement. For example, like MCN, you have to have a certain amount of members to perform, which it will be an issue for a country which have small community here, because what if they don't met the requirement? They will feel left out because they can't join the event based on the requirement. So the event that I'm currently thinking of would be, for example, like potluck event, where everyone can bring their own country's signature dish and everyone can taste it. While doing that, they can talk with each other about the food and share each other's culture, creating a bonding moment and make friends from another country. And even events like this does not cater to anyone and does not have a requirement to join it. And I could do some research about country which have small community here and introduce them by creating a content about them, such as like fun fact on the Instagram. And it would be done by collaborating with MUISS Media. So basically introducing them so they feel represented in Monash.
Thank you, Fadia. Our next question is, how would you deal in a situation where your event does not meet the targeted revenue, which causes the event to go over budget?
Okay, thank you for the question. The problem of that it does not meet the targeted revenue would be because it does not meet the participation goals, which um, it, it is another problem. Hence, it will go over budget. So if that case happens, like we have some difficulties with the budget, for example, the budget is not adequate for the events that will be made. This is when my skill of problem solving comes to place. I will make alterations to fit the budget, make the most out of what we can get from the budget, and we could utilize some of the props that we already have in the campus or students' offices. But if that approach is still not enough, then I will talk to treasurer and the heads to resolve this issue. I would probably suggest to search for sponsors for the upcoming events, but some of the budget that is received for the upcoming events will be allocated to the past events that are over budget to compensate or reimbursing it. I mean, I think it's just the matter of capability of finance management and communication within the MUISS itself, especially to the treasurer and heads. At the end of the day, it could be resolved by having great finance management strategy. It does not have to be planned beforehand, because I know things that could happen not the way as it is planned. So it can also be altering the upcoming event budget to compensate the past event.
Thank you, Fadia. Our fourth question is, what is the one initiative you have in mind right now for student welfare, and how do you plan to execute it?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Um, yes, I am aware that this is not just about activities anymore, it is a combination. Um, in terms of your question, it was about welfare events. I am planning to collaborate with MUSA Welfare for the care packages, which I already discussed this with Ignivitus MUSA Welfare if elected. In that way, we could make more care packages because the budget will be combined, or collaborating with MUISS Media, creating mental health content, which brings more awareness and knowledge about mental health to students, and video content asking about what international students are currently struggling and how they cope, to give inspiration to other international students about how to cope. In that way, it also kind of gives students the opportunity to share their experience and give it back to the students the information that they need.
Thank you.
So
Oh, do you have something else to say?
to execute it, I will discuss it through for another parties, which is like MUSA Welfare and MUISS Media.
Thank you, Fadia. Okay, our next question is, what changes would you make to increase signups and participations for your events?
Thank you for the question. First of all, before we tackle an issue, we must know the problem first. So by my own observation in MUISS, the problem is the announcement or promoting event, but in such short notice, like I'm talking about only days before the event is held. It's not really sufficient for students to be informed that there was an event. Hence, the frequency and the reach towards the students is not really wide. How to make it wider is to extend the promotion or marketing period so that there are many students that can be reached. First step would be to communicate to MUISS Media to create the poster way before the event has started. So we actually needed to plan this beforehand. And after that, the poster has already been made. We, the whole MUISS, is running as a team, right? I will utilize the whole MUISS members to make use of their social media. Hence, it creates a bigger range of reach. For instance, I'm going to make all MUISS members to repost the post to their Insta story, and each MUISS members will have Monash students followers, and they will be varied because different members must have different friend groups. It will create more communication channel. So I'm using the word of mouth method here. I think with this method, it will be sufficient to increase the participation. And on top of that, the MUISS heads from Ignivitus have initiatives of creating a new channel, which is a website, which will include every links that MUISS provides, so the students will be easier to navigate all of the events and information that MUISS have. But for this one, Ignivitus MUISS heads will elaborate more on this, as that is their initiative, not mine. And also, I could utilize the platform that MUSA have, such as MUSA Publicity, because MUISS is a part of MUSA, so I can also utilize that. Lastly, printing posters and put it in the university would also work, as I saw there are clubs and societies event that was put in the campus, and I think it will also be effective.
Thank you, Fadia. Our last question from the office bearer is, how will you ensure that events by this division does not clash with events by the CROs, as there is a fine line between them?
I'm assuming in this context is about the events itself and not the timing. So I think because MUISS, CRO is also a part of MUISS, I think we as a whole team, I mean, I think it's okay to, I know there is a fine line, but at the end of the day, MUISS is a whole team, as a whole organization. We couldn't be just only like each department. It is a whole team. So I feel like to not clash about it, probably communicate it also with the CROs as well. But at the end of the day, we are all MUISS.
Thank you for your answer, Fadia. That was the Q&A session between the office bearer and Fadia Sarawati, everyone. Now it is time to move on for the Q&A from the students itself. Now, I am looking through the comments section right now, and it seems that we have one or two questions readily available for you to answer, Fadia. Okay, from Rashwan, he asks, Fadia, can you tell me a bit more about how MUISS activities can be more inclusive?
Thank you so much for that. The reason why I'm making that diverse and inclusive as a topic, as one of my manifesto, is I'm learning through my past experience as a MUISS activity subcommittee. The events that I had the chance to contribute to is most likely catered to guys. In other words, like the events that were made were preferred by only one side of the demographic. For example, like FIFA World Cup or Futsal World Cup. It was most likely guys. And it was kind of my idea to open the event as an all gender and could be mixed. Hence, that's why there are a couple of girls who also joined. Nonetheless, those events are open to all genders. So it doesn't really matter what the gender is. But to be frank, we all know that type of event would be most likely catered to guys, which that was not what I was aiming for in next year or in my term. I mean, I will still organize a sport event like that, but my goal is to add another event which was likely preferred by all demographic, a general and diverse such as MCN or One World event.
Thank you for the answer, Fadia. We also have a follow-up question from Rashwan. He asks, additionally, given that it is a new position, can you tell me some challenges you expect?
Thank you for the question. There are challenges that I will expect. As I mentioned before, this department is a combination of two departments. So the scope of the responsibility would be larger. So first of all, there is no standards yet to be made in this department because it is new, which could be an advantage or a disadvantage, depends on the perspective. Advantage would be that this is my chance to make it as a fresh start. I could set my own standard. And for the struggle is to balance the two sides of departments of activities and welfare at the same time. And the struggle for me is that I have not experienced anything that is welfare related, but nonetheless, I know the overall concept of what welfare department is about. And the second challenge would be because it is a combination of the department. It would require a larger amount of subcommittee members. And I would say managing more people would be a challenge because there will be more minds, more opinions from each subcoms. For instance, it would be harder to make the subcoms have the same level of understanding of what are we doing and our goals in this.
Thank you, Fadia. I thought that question was very eloquently answered. We also have another question from Ayush Nair. Ayush asks, you spoke about expanding your reach by having MUISS members repost the stories. As everyone follows the same people, don't you think it will go against your idea of expanding the reach?
Yeah, thank you for that. With all due respect, I think Monash University have a large community, and it actually kind of brave of you to assume that everyone follows the same people, because there is some there's my friend that just doesn't have any mutuals in Monash University. So I am, with all due respect, not everyone follows the same people in here, and Monash University is a large community, and that's why utilizing MUISS members would actually be useful for that, for the expanding the reach. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadia. We also have another question. This one also from Rashwan. Rashwan asks, how will you make sure your events and initiatives actually allow and help students achieve a study-life balance as stated in your manifesto?
Okay, thank you for that question. I know that the students some students cannot participate due to deadlines and assignments if the event is just for like one period of time. So I would say by having more frequent and accessible events to students, as I'm aware, there will be times some students cannot participate due to deadlines and assignments. This could be done by collaborating with MUSA Buddies program, as I am aware they have small events that is being held throughout the time. So it would give students an equal opportunity to socialize with others, have a great time, and with their own schedule.
Thank you, Fadia. That is all the questions we have as of now. I propose we give the audience maybe 1 or 2 minutes before we decide to end for move on from the questions from students. Oh, in fact, we have another question, this time from Andy. He asks, hi Fadia, when it comes to short notice and the MUISS media team can't make it to publicize your events anytime soon, how would you handle this situation?
Yes, thank you for that. I think this is the core problem for this would be the short notice. And this is what me and my Ignivatus MUISS is currently discussing. As we are elected, hopefully, as soon as we elected, we will discuss this and we will prepare for the event way beforehand. So it will be prepared accordingly. But I know maybe some situation could go wrong. But hopefully for the MUISS media team, I think for making posters way beforehand, I think we could manage that.
Thank you, Fadia. Let's give the audience another minute to come up with any questions before we move on. We have another question, this time also from Andy. He asks, from a student's perspective, what do you believe is lacking in the current activities team that you would like to improve in the coming term?
Okay, in terms of activities team, I would say it is the lack of leadership in the department itself, and overall, activities team have a great job, but yeah, the subcommittee does not get an adequate amount of experience to handle or arranging the events. So the sense of leadership is very minimum for subcommittee. Most of it would be handled by the OBs. So the subcommittee is kind of just there and only taking orders and not really have this contribution into creating the events. So my solution for that to give the right amount of experience to the subcommittee, as they will be told their responsibility way before they will become the subcommittee. So they will have to accept the responsibilities that will be given if they are selected to be the subcommittee. And my solution would be each event will have the right amount of PIC or person in charge, which it will be the subcommittee, to give them the full experience of making the event. My improvement from last year would be giving the full authority to the person in charge, encourage all subcoms to contribute, giving them balanced workload. It does not mean that I will take my hands off from my own responsibility. What I was saying was I will be giving them a chance to voice out their ideas, stimulate their creativity and leadership skills while guiding them along the way, so we are still on track.
Thank you, Fadia, for your insightful and comprehensive answers. I think with that, we can be safe that there are no further questions and we can move on from the Q&A from the students' perspective. With that, Fadia, the floor is now yours for your closing statement and any summary you might like to make.
Thank you, everyone, for streaming or joining the session. Thank you for the OBs, Kresna, and thank you for the DRO and RO. Thank you, Sean and Alethea. I hope you have understood the importance of why I would like to implement my initiatives, and I thank those of you who have asked me further questions. If elected, I will prove it through actions and the performance rather than only giving false hopes, as action speaks louder than words. I know I am far away from perfect despite the experience and skills that I have developed throughout the time, but please keep in mind that I will still keep learning and I will always communicate my thought to others and ask for feedback or guidance to others with an open mind and heart. I'm already doing that along the way. You can also reach out to me through any platform that I have. So please have faith in me, and I believe that I will be a great head of MUISS Engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Fadia, for the wonderful closing statement. And also, the EC would also extend its gratitude to everyone else who is participating in this debate. Once again, thank you for participating and thank you for tuning in. This was the debate for MUISS Engagement representative position. Our candidate was Fadia Saraswati from Ignavitus, and our OB was Krishna Paramaputra, which unfortunately is having Wi-Fi issues and cannot ask the questions himself. Now, our next debate is for the MUISS secretarial position, and our candidates are Ayesha Suhaima from Ignavitus and Mahasan from Lideransia. We also have a few platforms for election updates, such as our Discord server, our MUSA Instagram, our MUSA website, and our election guide has also been recently published 2 days ago. So do check it out for any information on the election and the manifesto at all. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and this was our debate. Good morning.